So we were talking earlier in the show about Jimmy Butler getting that technical. The Saturday night was so great. Jimmy was out of his mind, hits this three that he had no business hitting, sends it to overtime, and then they just get blown out in overtime. And Jimmy is frustrated at the end of overtime. He walks off the court. He gets a tech because now they've only got 4 guys on the court, and that's just illegal in basketball, no matter how much time is left on the clock. So somebody writes into the Ask Ira column at the Sun Sentinel, good for Jimmy Butler. Walk out just like the entire Heat organization has walked out on your window. And that seems to be a theme that you're hearing over and over, right? Have the Heat wasted Jimmy Butler's opportunity? And Ira has written before, because we've talked about it. I don't know about that, because they gave him a nice little roster in 2020 that went to the NBA Finals, gave him a nice little roster last year. Like they've tried. But anyway, here is Ira's response to that. I'm not sure Jimmy Butler's premature departure from the court in overtime Saturday night's loss in Orlando was a statement about something larger. But how does a player score 38 points in regulation, including a miraculous game-tying three-pointer at the fourth quarter buzzer, and not get a single shot in overtime? Yes, because of turnovers, the Heat got off only 4 shots in overtime. Still, you have to get the ball to Butler. As far as the greater notion of the Heat not doing enough to surround Jimmy with the required talent, remember that his influence was among the reasons the Heat signed Kyle Lowry, essentially leaving them capped out on the luxury tax threshold. Next will be the question of trying to find something else to sate Jimmy, or moving forward and building around Bam and Tyler. That's the first time I've heard that. Either you've got to find something that satisfies Jimmy, or you're getting rid of Jimmy and you're building around Tyler and Bam. Interesting dilemma.
Ooh. And it can't be, you can't, because if we just stay with all 3, it's just we're sitting there exactly where we are now.
Well, that would be the notion, right? That you can't have just those 3. And Kyle Lowry's not going to be long for the team, obviously, but you're going to be hamstrung by the contract. So it's not going to be super easy to move. I guess
that's the thought of bringing in a star to be the 1 and keeping those 3.
I might have to play the phlegm montage because I don't know what's happening there. I mean, we're just going to pretend like you're not burger, drowning.
Man. It was that lettuce. I had the lettuce burger.
What was the lettuce burger with extra phlegm? What happened there? Go ahead. I can't. We can't sit through that. We cannot sit through that and not play this.
And some of those. Whoa!
You all right?
My goodness, I almost died there.
Hey, yo, Easy.
Light skin wonder.
Trees of green.
Hey, John, we always.
Red roses too.
And whoa!
I see them blue.
And with Wade leaving, excuse me, they can't go back.
And I think to myself,
series of, excuse me, they can't go back. I have this.
What a wonderful world.
And some of those. Whoa!
I mean, truly disgusting.
I drank some sparkling ice.
We had a nice opportunity today, though, based on the leaf blower that was at your house earlier and your phlegm just there, to revisit some of our great moments here. But yeah, I mean, Solana, if I said to you, and it has not come to this yet, that's obviously just a question or a comment in the Ask Ira column. But if I asked you right now, and I know this isn't fair on March 13th, because there's still plenty of basketball to play, there's still playoffs to go. If I said to you right now, look into your crystal ball, next season, you're building around Jimmy in a new way, or you're jettisoning Jimmy and you're building around Tyler and Bam, what do you think happens?
Those are my only options?
Well, I mean, you could run it back. You have 3 options, essentially, right? You can run it back the way this season has been and hope that Duncan Robinson starts hitting threes, or Max Strus does. You know where I stand on that. Or Tyler Hero is hitting more shots. I mean, you could run it back.
No, I don't think the Heat are going to move on from Jimmy Butler. That's been something a lot of people have said now over the past couple of months.
Well, he may want to move on.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say that today because he's frustrated with the way that the team has underperformed, especially over the last couple of weeks. But Jimmy Butler, in every stop he went to, Chicago and Minnesota and then Philadelphia, never had the opportunities that he had in Miami. He got to the NBA Finals in Miami. They built around him in Miami. They've gone out and got the guys he wanted, like Ira mentioned, in Miami. So the idea that Jimmy Butler, because of one season where, yeah, they bet on their roster improving and it has not. So should he be frustrated? Sure. But because of 1 year where things didn't work out the way that he
But you're
wanted
not
it to.
what you're doing. Like I'm not certain what you're doing there. You're kind of laying it out. Jimmy Butler and his agent come to you. You're Pat Riley, and they say, "What are you going to do? This isn't working."
Right.
That's what you're going to tell them. Well, we gave you opportunities no other team has, and
No, you're presenting me the idea that Jimmy Butler may want to ask out, and I'm explaining to you why he won't. He's not going to want to ask out. I think the Heat continue to try to improve this roster around Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. That's what I think. And by the way, I don't think it'll be as difficult to move Kyle Lowry next year or this offseason as you believe, because he'll be a $30 million expiring deal. Those tend to be easier to move. The one that they have to get out of, just based on production compared to what they've been paid, is the guy that you continue to cape up for in Duncan Robinson. That's the contract that continues to put them in a bad spot contractually against the cap.
Haunt them. Don't do it, Pat.
And that's the one that they're going to struggle to move on from. That's the one. I don't imagine a situation that Jimmy Butler asks out this offseason. And I don't.
He's going to ask for help, though.
For sure.
And they can't go get any big time help because they're paying Bam a bunch of money and Tyler a bunch of money. They can. Duncan. The problem is they need to go find a legit one, and let Bam and Jimmy be 2 and 3. They can't go get a legit one because they don't have enough money to go out and get a guy.
I think they need a more legit 2 than Bam. I really think that's what it is, because Jimmy shows you he could. I think could be a 1 if he had a really legit 2. And that's funny to say because Bam was the all-star and Jimmy wasn't, but watch what's happened since the all-star break. Jimmy is the superstar. He needs consistent number 2 help or 1A help.
You say they can't, that they're in a bad spot, and I'm not telling you that they're not. They are in a bad spot.
If you bring up this bubble championship against the Lakers, I'm driving to the station and I'm jumping on you.
There's only one guy that can do it, though, and his name is Double O Greer. But unfortunately, he's working his magic for a different team.
Bro, they had Dion Waiters, James Johnson, Hassan Whiteside. I mean, they were in absolute hell contract-wise, and they got rid of all those guys and turned it into Jimmy Butler. And guess what? That very same year, they made the NBA Finals in the bubble. So the idea that the Heat can't get out of this difficult situation, I'm not telling you that 100% they're going to go out a whale this offseason. That's not what I'm saying. But to doubt this front office because of a couple bad contracts right now over the next free agency period, to me, is foolish, because they've shown you time and time again that they can get out of bad contracts and make a situation that doesn't look good into another contender. So I'm not putting it past this front office, and I'm sure that's Jimmy Butler's mentality as well, because it's been proven here he's had the most success outside of any other organization he's played with, 3 previously to Miami.
This team's not talented enough to win a championship.
Okay,
I understand what you're saying with the Heat. Right, as they say there now, Solana, they're not. They are not. Jimmy, Bam, and Tyler cannot be 1, 2, and 3 and do it. Kyle's old. If Kyle was young, they wouldn't be good enough. Bro, they are
last year.
They're a very hardworking, well-coached team. That's what they are.
With the same roster last year, if Kyle Lowry doesn't get injured, I mean, they're in a much better spot. He was a shell of himself last year, and they were a shot away from the NBA Finals. I'm not telling you Kyle Lowry's the answer, and I agree with you. Tyler Hero, probably not the guy so far they were expecting to be, which is why they gave him that poison pill, which kicks in next year. But I still think Jimmy and Bam are what the Heat are going to build around. I still believe it. And
I just think you're being a little naive to think that Jimmy is just grateful which is what you're making it sound, that he's just grateful to the Heat because it's been better here for him than in Minnesota or Chicago. And so he's just grateful. I think at some point, Jimmy looks at what he did on Saturday night and he ends up, in Riley's office, deservedly so, saying, what are you going to do? I can't waste another season. That's not absurd to think. And the notion that, Pat Riley would say, well, you're in a better spot than you were in Minnesota, or you were in the finals in 2020 and you were a step away from the final. Like, it just it doesn't work with superstars. I love Jimmy. That dude should be a Heat lifer. That guy should go down in history as one of the best Heat players ever. But superstars, as maybe you see in the NBA, they get antsy. They want to go win.
But he wanted to be here. This is the organization.
I understand that. Kevin Durant wanted to be in Brooklyn. Kyrie wanted to be in Brooklyn. Everybody wants to be somewhere up until they decide that they can't win there. I mean, that's nothing new.
But you can't compare the Kevin Durant and Kyrie situation going to Brooklyn, where they thought they were going to be able to handle everything. They thought they were going to be able to do what LeBron James tried to do in LA.
Jimmy thought that once you bring Kyle Lowry in, that everything's going to be fine. Like, it doesn't work out.
Right, but the stability of this organization is far beyond what the Nets was, and that's what Durant realized when they got there. And anybody who comes here, especially Jimmy Butler, understands that that's a reason why they want to come here.
Why didn't P.J. Tucker stay?
Because they didn't want to pay him at 40 years old, $11 million a year.
But they've got stability, though.
And guess what? Nobody's upset that the Heat didn't sign P.J. Tucker this year.
All I'm saying is the stuff that you're rattling off really isn't important to players after they've had an opportunity to play. Like, they want to come to Miami. Yeah, but it doesn't, you don't – if I can win a championship here or I have stability and culture here. Like, championship's going to win out every time.
I'm not touting culture. What I'm telling you is there's a reason why Jimmy Butler wanted to come to Miami. Part of it was the stability in the organization, which is my whole argument, that he came here because he believes in Pat Riley building a contender around him.
I totally agree. But everyone goes to every organization because they believe that's the right spot for them.
So one season where things don't pan out the way that you were hoping for, he's just going to ask out. I'm just telling you, I don't see that happening. But I'm with you. He goes to Pat Riley and wants a better situation.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that he asks out. I'm just saying goes to Riley and goes, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
As he should, by the way. As he
should. Jimmy is not young, and he's watching these other stars around him win championships. He's watching other stars.
He knows his window's closing.
Chase rings like KD is, and KD's a way better basketball player than Jimmy Butler. Why wouldn't Jimmy chase it and KD's chasing him, and LeBron was chasing him for years? Why?
That's the way of the NBA right now.
That's what I was going to get after. Why is Jimmy not a part of what NBA players are doing? Why would he say, no, Pat Riley's my man, I'm here forever?
He's built different, man. He's got culture flowing through his veins. That's why.